takeaway from that, and I don't mean to be, again, too dark, as you said, on this, but it is not, if we are worried about the rise of authoritarianism in this country, we are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country, if we're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government, the leader who is trying to do that is part of that equation. But people wanting that is a much bigger part of that equation. Right. And the American electorate is made up of two major parties. One of those parties has been flirting with extremism on the ultra-right for a very long time. They've brought them in a way that they haven't been central to Republican electoral politics ever before, and I know because I've been studying this. But once you have radicalized one major party so that those are the preferences of the people who adhere to your party, the leader's interchangeable. And yes, Trumpism is sometimes what we call it. MAGA movement is probably a better way to do it. But there is an authoritarian movement inside Republican politics that isn't being bamboozled by Trump. They are pushing Trump to get more and more extreme, because the more extreme things he says, the more they adhere to him. And that is coming from a very large proportion of the American right that adheres to the Republican Party. And that's why this is a Republican Party problem more than it is the problem of one man and his leadership.
Doesn't that tie together the...
That's good. So I said, Rachel, she's right out there. She's a thinker. If we were living in Germany and the Nazis took over, Rachel wouldn't make it. She'd go off to the camps because she has a grandparent who was Jewish. So she had a familial predisposition to be part of the New World Order. I'm just going to say that, another opinion. I don't have any 8x10 glossies. I'd love to talk to her. I know she's not going to talk to me. I'd love to go over, why do you talk like this? Because the American people do not. I've never heard anybody, I've never read anybody say, give us a dictator. I mean, I guess I saw one idiot say it one time. We're not the American people don't want that. What she's not saying is the hidden part. She's working for an authoritarian form of government on the left. She's a leftist. We've studied this we've gone through this together on the Professor Penn podcast after podcast. They call the Nazis right because they're right to the left. In comparison to the left, the Nazis are to the right. Because fascism keeps the means of production in the hands of oligarchs, where communism strips their ownership and controls it at the state level. The only difference is the fascists think that economy is more efficient if you keep the entrepreneurs involved. The communists say, you know what? We'll take the inefficiency. We're taking everything. We take all. Because they want total control. And Rachel Maddow represents that new left, that total control authoritarianism. And she's saying, look at these rightists. They want authoritarianism. So that's what you would call projection in the first place, because that does not exist in the American citizens movement. We are thoroughly grounded in a constitution that's based on rights granted by a creator. These folks don't believe in the creator, so on the Constitution and the founding documents. They don't care about that. They think those documents can be changed. Us dummies here in the American citizens movement, us knuckle draggers that are dependent on our Bibles and our guns, we think that this stuff is based in faith. And so you see this in all this bits that I played tonight, the great effort to isolate the white evangelicals, to create them as authoritarians that are going to be Nazis, that are going to bring forth a Hitler. It's a complete lie, complete and total lie. And this is the part I want to bring out before we end. Rachel Maddow is saying it's not about Trump. She's saying it's about the ideas in the movement. That's exactly what I've been saying. This is not about Trump. It's about our ideas. Let our ideas be amplified through our community getting onto X. And let's talk about the fact that we are complete children of our Constitution, complete children of a creator that granted us rights. Let us get out in a coordinated effort and start to oppose these lies by amplifying the message. Let us do it in our community. It doesn't mean that there isn't infinite numbers of other communities that are doing it, but let us come together, because God is great. And, this is why a salmon has thousands of eggs. You don't know which egg is going to be the next salmon. we have to do our part together in case we are chosen. I'm not saying we will be. I'm saying we do our part as if we could be.